YouTube, what up? It's Matty B. Welcome back to the channel, and as always, really appreciate y'all watching. We're back. I missed my Supercross post-race review. I was still recovering from my knee surgery I had last week, but better late than never. Figure this time I'm just going to throw a few different things into one video. We'll review Glendale, and then we'll do a little track preview of Tampa this upcoming weekend, as well as a little rundown of what all is going down in the 250 East, because it's going to be insane this year. And also, this video is no longer presented to you by the Pull Out Bed National. We've switched locations, so y'all will have to let me know if it still sounds okay. I'm trying some new stuff here, so I'm for sure excited about what all has been going on in Supercross lately. It's been awesome. We'll go ahead and get into the review of Glendale, the Triple Crown. I love me some Triple Crowns, man. They're awesome. No heat races or any of that time wasting, no points paying stuff, just straight action all night long. It keeps you glued to the screen. It's always epic. And first off, let's get into some thoughts about the track. Glendale has, I think, the biggest stadium of the season, so they're always able to have more room to play with, get some creativity in there. Just more space is always good, have a bigger track. We had big jumps, rhythms with multiple options, quads, long rhythm lanes, and a bunch of 180 bull turns, so that made for some awesome racing. I thought for the most part the track was awesome, and it was super entertaining as a fan, but there were a few negatives. I felt like the wall jumps were awesome for fans to watch. It was a cool dynamic to see rolling or launching and flat landing to see what was better, and I'm seeing people go way higher than the guy in front of them if they sent it, so all that was cool, but I don't think it was very cool on the bikes and the bodies. I know everybody's wrists, ankles, knees, all that stuff. Pain was in the contract for him, and then even there was some issues with the bikes. I heard Roczen broke like a steering race. I think Ferrandis messed up 3 different axles, so that flat landing is just a little bit hard on the machinery and the body. And of course, we only had 9 loops. They were straight up concrete national. They weren't a huge factor, but honestly, if we're gonna have 84-foot rhythm section jumps and 80-foot wall jumps to flat, I think we might as well throw in more loops in a Dragon's Back. Come on now, let's see it. Now on to the racing. Got to start with the biggest story of the weekend, even though he was not the winner, and that is Jett Lawrence with the torn ACL, out for the season. And man, what a bummer. I feel like it really, in one way, it takes some air out of the series, but in another way, it kind of adds some excitement into it because the favorite is now gone. And of course, we don't want to see anybody go out with any injuries, but even Tomac and Webb have said in interviews, we have to go through Jett for the title. So all these contenders are going to see an opening, and expect to see a lot of fight and get the best out of these guys that are contending for this title because they see an opening and it's time to take it. I'm dealing with the Jett Lawrence injury myself, just had surgery a week and a half ago, so I'm not sure how quick he'll be back. I know I'm not worried about it myself, but hopefully he'll be at least back for the start of outdoors. That gives him about 4 months, and we know JS7's done it in the past and went 24-0, so it's possible, but times are different. It's really stacked right now, and this is why it's going to be so hard for him to get to 72, man. All it takes is 1 foot dab, just like I did, and yeah, you're screwed. Next up, the race winner, Sexton, and now the red plate holder once again. Got the win without even winning a main event, went 3-3-2, got a couple of really bad starts in the first 2 mains, and then looked like he was off to the races in that third one, but made a mistake in that long rhythm. Tomac launched the 180-foot rhythm section jump past him, and then he already knew he had the overall, so I think he was kind of just playing it smart and took home a second for that overall win. Despite winning the overall, he didn't win a race, so I'm curious how the confidence is after a race like that, whether you still feel like you're the man or you just feel like you were consistent and outlasted everybody. So I don't really know, but the check still cashes. He still got max points, so I'm sure he's not too mad about any of it. Either way, Chase looks really good. He definitely does not look like 2024 Chase. He looks like a little bit more of a polished, smooth version of his 2023 self, so I'm excited to have him back at full strength. Then we got Webb. We all know he sucks in Glendale, right? Ha! Nope, never mind. I think Coop used all that hate throughout the week to fuel his motivation to put in a really good result at Glendale. And if that's how you work, Coop, dude, you really suck over 17 rounds. Like, there's no way you're going to win the title. So hopefully that motivates you. But yeah, he was good all day. He qualified really well. I think third. Got off to the early lead and took off in the first main. I was really impressed that he was able to hold off the charging Jett Lawrence. I thought he was going to get him for sure. Mains 2 and 3 kind of was coming from the back a little bit, but he charged forward, and really for a venue that's not good for Cooper, I feel like everybody else might be in trouble. He's got this offseason injury that he's coming off of, which nobody knew about. And speaking of that, how about that comment he made in the press conference about not wanting to get docked pay if he talked about his injury? So yeah, that's kind of crazy, especially with gambling and betting coming into the sport. I feel like that's going to make things pretty murky if riders are getting docked pay for admitting injuries. That's kind of some information that I think bettors would want to know. But he's coming on strong, and we're heading east where he's always better, and Jett Lawrence is out. I picked Coop to be second in points in the preseason, so I'm just going to slot him up 1 spot. Webb is my pick for the championship. Over 17, it's just hard to shake this guy. He's there every time, and he's just a mental giant. Let the mind games begin. Third, we got Kickstart Kenny on the box. Who doesn't love a little box? Goes 4-1-5, the first and the third main. weren't anything too special, nothing to write home about. But that second main, I was so impressed with that fire he came out with on the start. He ran it in like nobody's business into Jett into that first turn. I can't even believe they both made it out of it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm surprised Jett didn't blow the knee out in that incident. He just did it all by himself. Kenny has been awesome this season. I slept on him super heavy in my preseason video, and I could not have been more wrong. He's looked almost better than ever. And he's doing it on a damn dinosaur. I don't want to hear any of y'all saying, oh, Suzuki's don't suck. Look at Kenny. He's not on anything you guys can buy. If y'all think that, then you guys are higher than I was after surgery last week. But he's looking good. I just hope he doesn't get that mid to end season fade that he usually has. He's got some health complications and all that. But he's been making a really good case for himself to be a title contender. And he even looked like he was a little bit bummed out at the podium after his third place. So I feel like that shows a little bit of an attitude switch. He's not settling for just a little spot on the box. And yeah, he wants the title, so we might have a dangerous Kenny on our hands. Fourth, barely off the podium, Eli Tomac. Dude was playing catch-up all night, started pretty much last in both the first and the second mains, but came back to a sixth and a fourth, and then took a commanding win in main 3 after getting around Sexton. The speed has been there. He's been one of the fastest guys, if not the fastest guy over these first 4 rounds, but it's just insane to think he only has 1 podium. He's just had some bad starts and that crash at Anaheim. But Eli's another one. He knows with Jett going out, this opens up a huge opportunity to get another championship and end out his last final season with a bang, even though we all feel like he might be coming back next year. But I would definitely expect to see the best of Eli going forward. He knows an open door when he sees one. We all know it'd be a sick story after the Achilles, and he should have been retired already. Can't even believe he's still around after all he's been through. If he won the title, it'd definitely be a sweet story. Now on to the 250 class. We're keeping it a lot briefer this week. And we had the first one of the season and the first win ever for Triumph, with Jordan Smith taking the overall at 2, 3, and a 1. Consistency is king. And besides the crash at the end of A2 trying to go after Juju and the Woos, he's actually been extremely solid. Probably the most solid I've ever seen Jordan start a season. I felt like the Triumph would maybe smooth him out just a little bit, make him a little more consistency, and it seems like that has been the case. And he's only 2 points out of the red plate right now, so it'd be an awesome story if Jordan and Triumph get this championship. Obviously, it would be huge for a new brand. And Jordan, I think he just turned 29, so he's been around the block. He's been through hell and back, and yeah, he's old, but it's not like he's been around winning forever. So he's had years where he didn't even get rides or didn't even race. So, I mean, if you're hating on it, I don't really know what to tell you, but I think it's all good. I mean, there's been older champions than him, but bravo, Jordan Smith. We love to see it. Second place, Hayden Deegan with a 3.24, and my first thought is WTF. What is going on? It sounds kind of harsh. I mean, he's in second. He won Anaheim, and he's right there in the points, but I just expect so much of him. Preseason, I expected him to run away with this one big time. There was even people talking about Deegan perfect seasons. But in Glendale, I mean, you can make a case to say he was the 4th best guy on the night behind Smith, Davies, and Juju. As dialed in as he is outdoors, he just seems to make quite a few mistakes in Supercross. He is a bulldog, though, so he does tend to get out of them pretty good. And for some reason, I still have this feeling he's going to win the title. I think he's the best guy, even though he hasn't quite been showing it. And now he's got a break to try to fix some weaknesses and iron some things out, but it's getting tougher by the race. He's giving these guys a lot of hope. Third overall ride of the night, and one of my new favorite riders, Cole Davies, 1-1-8. I thought he had it, but just choked that start in the third main. Then I guess he had a tough block kicked out in front of him. Crashed on lap 1. That was all she wrote. Just had to play catch up and try to limit the damage. And I can't say enough good things about this kid. This kid is unreal. I could not be any more impressed watching him ride. And he wasn't even supposed to be racing. He was supposed to be an SMX next. His trajectory is insane. His interviews are even getting really good. And he seems to be pretty degaff. I mean, it looked like Deegan was kind of chirping him before the start of that third main, maybe just trying to mess with him. And Cole stayed locked in, eyes straight forward. So had he not thrown away this win, I would almost be willing to insert him into the championship conversation. But we're just a little bit on the outside looking in, but hot take, you heard it here first. If Cole Davies gets off to a hole shot at an East-West showdown, he's winning it. This kid is legit, and I haven't seen a rookie ride this well in a long time. Maybe, honestly, maybe ever. Fourth overall, Juju with a 4.72, and after as many mistakes as he made, I feel like that's actually pretty lucky to get away with just a 4th. I feel like it being the Triple Crown actually kind of helped him in this sense because he had 2 more motos to try to claw back some points. And he also got really lucky that first main event crash. He took down like half the field behind him, so he got up and was probably still only 10, 11, 12. So that definitely helped the first time. But then the second moto, he crashed and didn't take anybody with him. So that made life tough on him. Then the third one, I feel like just kind of a mediocre start. Wasn't able to quite run down Jordan and came back to a second. Juju's another one. He's just impressed me so much this year. He's been so fast. You just can't have nights like this if you want to be a title contender. Or I guess you can have nights like this, but you can't have any more nights like this. He's just got to limit the mistakes, but he's shown every round this year pretty much. He's been the fastest guy, and it's been an amazing start to the series. I can't believe we're talking about Juju Bomayer being a title contender, but I'll be damned, he definitely is one. He's thrown himself right into this mix, and yeah, he's riding and acting like he belongs up there. And this 250 West Championship is starting to look like a 3-horse race between Deegan, Juju, and Jordan Smith, so it's kind of a toss-up between the three of them. Like I told you before, I still kind of have this feeling that Deegan will pull it out. But I'm rooting heavy for Jordan Smith and Triumph, the veteran. I think he's a little more consistent this year. And if you guys remember, he almost won a championship in 2017. 8 years ago, went into the finale, tied with Osborne and Savachi, and ended up heading to Indonesia instead of the podium. But yeah, it could be any of these three's championship. And even if Cole Davies gets on a streak, y'all better watch out. Those are the brief notes I got for y'all from Glendale. Now we'll get into a little track preview for Tampa. And then after that, we'll get into this insane E250 East Coast series that's about to start up this weekend.
Now on to the track preview, round 5 in Tampa, back in a football stadium. So we're going to have a little bit shorter lap times this weekend. And despite the fact that we are going east, I do remember Tampa being kind of hard and slick for an East Coast track. So might have to wait a couple more weeks for those ruts and sticky conditions. Starting with, well, the start, another kind of short one. They haven't really been into these full-length start straights this year, and it's also a right-hander, so a couple different variables thrown at these guys. I think we're going to see some more carnage, being that it's a short straight into a 180, but if there are pile-ups, I do think they'll be low speed. Everybody should be cool. We just might see some stack-ups. Then right out of the first turn, we got this little 4-jump rhythm section, 2 3s, a 5, and then a 3, so it'll definitely be an advantage to be able to triple in, then just be able to single out off the small one rather than doubling and then doubling out over the big 5-footer. But it does look like it's out of a pretty flat corner, so depending on the traction, which I do think is going to be kind of limited, it's probably going to be a pretty big boost to get over that. And off the start, we got another right-left switchback with not much in between, so I would not be surprised to see pileups in either or maybe even both of these first 2 corners. Then into another little rhythm section, 6 jumps in this one, so track build's kind of going to dictate this one. We could see a big 3-3 or maybe a 2-3-1, but it seems like they've been into the big lines this season, so I feel like they'll build it to where they can 3-3 it. Out of that rhythm into a tight little 90-degree left, and I really like this section because it provides 2 distinct options. You could either go on, off, and then table over, single out, or over the table and then step on, step off. So hopefully that'll provide some passing options into a 180 right, a standard Supercross triple, into a 180 left, and then this rhythm section has 7 jumps. Maybe we'll see another big 3-4 like San Diego, maybe a 2-3-2 or even a 3-3-1. There could be a number of combos through here. Again, I say it a lot, but it's kind of going to depend on how the crew builds it. Out of that rhythm into a 90-degree left, and I really like what's coming up through here. There's a double, triple, or a triple-double, depending on the size of your kahunas, going into the whoop section. Got 9 whoops on the map. Maybe they'll throw us all a curveball and experiment with 10 again. But if I remember correctly, the whoops in Tampa stay pretty hard packed, maybe get a little bit slick, so I feel like they should stay skimmers, although the jumpers always find a way to jump. I'm talking to you, Cooper Webb. Out of the whoops into a 180 left, and then we got this beach sand section, which has appeared to be a staple of the Tampa Supercross. They've had it like every year, and it's gnarly. As a fan, I love it. As a racer, I would hate it trying to ride through that sand on 2x4 suspension, but it always throws a massive wrench in the program, and it leads to a lot of passes, crashes, and just mistakes in general. Out of the Weston Beach Race Invitational into the final corner, a right-hand 180 bull turn, a little 3-5-3 triple coming out of that corner into the finish line. And then I like what they got going on here as well. They got the sand corner after the finish line. There should be an inside and an outside groove. The track crew is usually pretty good about making 2 viable options. But I like how it spits you back off into the start straight because you could use some momentum from around the outside to make a move down the start straight into the first turn or go inside in the sand and chop the line going down the start straight. I've been watching a lot of old Supercrosses lately, and they always used to have the bull turn after the finish line, and it was just straight up in the contract for that to be the passing place, to either shut the line off before you go down the start straight or to square up and blast pass back down the start straight. So maybe we'll see some of that, maybe we won't, I don't know. And that's one lap around Tampa. I think we're going to have a good racetrack on our hands. It's going to be a little bit on the shorter side.
That's what she said.
We might see our first 40-second lap times of the year, but everybody relax. The main events are timed now. It doesn't matter. They're still going to be racing for way too long. But I hope that little rundown got y'all excited for the weekend. Now let's get into what's really going to be the exciting part of the weekend, this absolutely insane lineup of 250 East racers.
Now, finally, let's get into this 250 East lineup. It'll be kicking off this weekend in Tampa. And holy crap, I cannot believe how stacked it was. I kind of felt like coming into the season, it seemed like West was going to be the stacked one. Then we had Faulkner switch to the East the week of the race, and we had Kitchen switch to the East the day of the race. So it's just the way the cookies crumbled this year. East is going to be insane. I got a list of names I'm going to read off to you. If I don't say you or your guy's name, don't get butthurt. It's just several names I saw off the entry list that I've seen in the main events. But we got Kitchen, Anstey, Bennick, McAdoo, Brown, Faulkner, Hammaker, Thrasher, Hampshire, Vial, Voland, Hymas, Phineas, Simonson, Schwartz, Drake, Chambers, Romano, Park, Baysflug, Miller, Linville, Phelps, Shelley, Mumford, Neese, Kulas, Locurcio, Floyd, Collip, Jorgensen, Munoz, Kobush, Carroll, and many more. So just that right there is 29 two-digit numbers, 11 factory-supported racers, and that's missing Casey Cochran from the Gas team, get well soon. And almost everybody else on this list has some support from some sort of secondary team like Club MX, Bar X, Phoenix Honda, Rock River, PRMX, Dirt Bike Depot, Firepower Honda, and many more. So if you ain't ripping, good luck making the main. It's going to be a tough one. And I've been trying to keep up with who's healthy and what's been going on with all these guys, and I just finally made myself some power rankings this afternoon, so I'll go ahead and read those now.
In 10th, I have Nate Thrasher, and out of all these guys, he's by far the hardest one to place. He could either get 20th or he could win, and I wouldn't be too surprised. I just haven't heard anything on how he's doing. If he's healthy, he could be a serious contender. I just really worry about the consistency. Then in 9th, I have his teammate Daxton Bennick, which I don't believe he'd be happy with a 9th, along with his team, but there's just so many good guys ahead of him. I do think he's going to have a good season. He's going to be riding well, but all these guys ahead of him I just think are going to be a little bit better. 8th, I have Cameron McAdoo. I just lowered his position substantially today because I just heard that he's heading into the season with some damaged knee ligaments, and you don't just race through that and get better by the week. All it takes is one leg dab and you're back to square one, so I hate to do it, but I don't think McAdoo is going to make it through the season on that knee. In 7th, I have Seth Hamaker. He's another really hard one to place, and rumors are that he's flying at the test track when riding down in Florida with the Lawrence brothers at the compound, and I'm really rooting for Seth. He is a top-tier human being. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met, and I think he's in the conversation to get another win this season, maybe some podiums. I just worry about some of the bad days that he has sometimes. In 6th, I have Star Racing's newest rider, Pierce Brown. I've heard a lot of things about him flying at the test track as well, but also heard that he had a big crash last week, so he may be coming in a little bit behind the 8 ball. But I know a lot of people are expecting a breakout out of him this season. I feel like it all depends on starts, and y'all saw Vegas SMX at the end of last year. You get him out front, he could be dangerous. Into the top 5, and gosh, this list was so hard to make. There's so many good guys, but in 5th, I have Max Anstey. I think he has potential to maybe be the fastest guy in the series, especially at times. But when Max has a bad day or night, it seems to be a really bad day or night. So if he can limit the damage on the bad days, he'll definitely throw himself into the conversation for the championship. In 4th, I have RJ Hampshire, defending champ from the West last year. And originally, I had him winning this East Coast, but then I've heard some things about him not coming in all the way healthy, and then Kitchen and Faulkner have been moved over as well. So I think the issue RJ may have is just going to be a slow start to the season, but he's a digger, he's a grinder. He'll leave it all on the track, he'll send it, and I'm excited to see what he's got for us. Into the top 3, and 3rd, I have Austin Faulkner, new brain and contacts on the Triumph. The bike's been proven. Jordan Smith just won on it like 6 days ago. I think it's pretty likely that Austin will be the fastest one in the series more often than not, but obviously he just has a tough time staying healthy, so if he finishes the series, there's a decent chance he may even be better than 3rd, but I'm just really hoping and praying he finishes it. But I do kind of think he's going to win Tampa this weekend. 2 in a row for Triumph, anyone? In 2nd, I have Le Tom Vial. He's coming in really quiet and downright disrespected for the defending champ of this series last year, but I felt like he did most of his damage off of consistency last year rather than speed, and the person I have picked to win this championship ahead of him I think just has a little bit more speed and just maybe a little bit more of the total package. And now I present to you my pick for the 2025 250 East Coast Championship, Levi Kitchen, the chef. I think he's going to cook up a lot of wins this season, and if you go back to last year, I truly think he was the best rider on both coasts. He had the West title on lock until he had that collision with McAdoo at Nashville at the East-West race. Finished it out battered and bruised and still almost took it to Hampshire. My only question with Kitchen is this illness that took him out of the West Coast. As long as he's good from that, then I think he's your champion, but if he's still suffering, then I've got Pepe Le Pew, Le Tom Vial for a back-to-back championship. But that's my top 10 rundown, and there was even some really good riders that I didn't even get to in this, so I'm excited to see how it all shakes out starting this weekend in Tampa. It's going to be a crazy series, but I'm along for the ride, baby. Buckle up, let's go. I just had to point out a couple funny things I saw on this entry list. We got the 427 Sea Breezy Bradford, and then we got my boy Nick Jones signed up as Jonesy Jones. I think he still thinks he's in the wild, wild west of Arena Crash. They might F around and fine you in this for using an alias. And next thing you know, next week we're going to see somebody signed up as McLovin. No choice. That's it for today's video. Really hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of it and what you thought of the different format. We should be back to getting videos out more regularly now that I'm not attending the Pain Medication National anymore. So expect us to keep them flowing and keep them coming. So I'm excited for this weekend. Hope y'all are too. Thanks for watching. We out.